but now my eyeballs are telling me that, hey, you're 45 degrees nose high and turning left, and then your standby is telling you you're full deflection nose low. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, well, now you can't trust those. So let's look at like the truth data. Let's just look at what is your actual round dial altitude saying, what is your airspeed saying. And like, we don't look at those a whole lot, especially as Viper dudes. Like, you're a HUD baby. I mean, if anyone in the Viper says they're not, they're lying to you. But we do all these trainings on the round dials and backup instruments in case those things are gone, right? But if that's gone, you still have an ADI that you trust as a general rule. And I had also lost that. So it's like, well, worst case scenario, we can just look at a trend and try to figure that out and like just fly literally like airspeed and altitude to get away from the ground, keep the jet under control. And then maybe once I trust both of those things and I see like climbing, stable airspeed, I can get on the radio and start talking. So about this point, I hear one on the radio, like, hey, Viper 2, push 7. Like, and at first, I think I clipped it, but I was like, 2's unable. And a couple seconds later, chirp back, like, Viper 2, like, push 7. It's like, 2's unable. And that one went through. They're like, that's weird. And then, the next thing I know is I'm looking at my airspeed and my altitude, and one of them, that altimeter is just reefing. It's just spinning like its life depends on it. And about the one potato it took me to realize that thing is just clocking around, and that number is going down. I'm like, I'm in a rapid descent. Now the airspeed's up near like four bills. My brain was like, okay, you're pointing at the earth. Like, let's start this recovery. And like in that moment where the information that I finally trusted came together, was like out of the weather. And I'm staring at a rice paddy. The weather at that point was at 1,000 feet. And I'm 30 degrees nose low, pushing 4 bills at that point. And I gave it, as soon as I see the earth, I give like one hard potato, if you will. Like, I just reef on the stick with all my might to see if I can just like squat the jet almost and just shark fin and stay in clear air and then get this figured out. And I just didn't have any nose authority, not enough at least. And it's like, they always talk about the time slowing down moments, and I feel like that was the moment for me, is this whole like time slowed down for me. And I am assessing like, okay, here's the ground. Here's my like assessed altitude. And if I can just squat the jet and stay right underneath the clouds, I'll be fine. But as I'm pulling on the stick, it's just like I could see where that turn circle was going to be ending. And I was like, dude, this isn't recovering above the ground. Like, there's no shot. And so, like, just quick mental math said, like, if you hang on to this and try to fly it out, like, you're just going to be burned alive. And so within a split second, it was just, okay, there's no flying this one out. And I always talk about, like, you get in a good body position, you tuck the neck, sit back, use both hands and pull. And I was flying with my right hand and my left hand just like riding a bull, right. It was literally instinctually. And of all the things that went wrong that day, the miracle was that like everything worked the way it was supposed to in that exact moment, So I ended up pulling the handle with the left hand, and things got really loud and really, really aggressive, really fast. All the caps and all the boldface you've ever done, that anytime the word eject is on it, they always talk about all the sims that you do, engine failure right after takeoff, zoom towards jet eject. Like, you've said it 1,000 times, you've done it 1,000 times in the sim, but they never talk about like what lies on the other side of that yellow handle. It is a significant emotional event, as you say. So things get really loud and really aggressive. I'm conscious the whole time, I don't ever pass out. A lot of guys have, or they like air quotes, like blackout. Like, half of me wishes I did, but I just remember every single little detail. So I get out of the jet, and then immediately there's a huge crash of the canopy opening shock happening. And about as the opening shock happens is never my like eyeballs can open up again. And the first thing that I see is just like the airplane barreling into the rice paddy and a huge fireball. There's a video of it on the internet, actually, from one of the Korean like CCTV cameras that catches it. So that was like the first thing I saw, and the sound of hearing a jet in mill that you're like right behind as it barrels into the earth is like a very visceral sound that will never leave my consciousness. It's like that's the one that like sticks with me, and like to full transparency, like keeps me up at night is like I hear it sometimes. Like I've got to be, if I get really idle minded, like that still can surface at times, which isn't great. We're working on it. But I watched this thing impact and then start going through like the post ejection checklist, and I didn't have a whole lot of time. Really, the biggest one was like it was still windy, raining super hard, and I'm flying towards what looked like a kind of like a concrete dam, if you will. And I'm like, that doesn't look like fun to land on, so I tried to steer away from that. And I had enough time underneath the canopy. I wanted to turn 180 degrees, but I was only able to get through 90 before I hit the ground. So I think whenever you like watch the video, I'm actually underneath the canopy for 7 seconds is like all the time that I had. So I make it about 90 degrees through this turn of what I wanted to be 180, and end up just PLFing in this rice paddy. But landed sideways, textbook PLF, best scene to date.
Naturally.
Which is always like the seer guys were just round of applause. Thank you. And so we go through, do that, and then I'm getting drugged through this rice paddy, and I can't get the harness undone. So right back to seer training, and like turns out like it'll auto release in salt water, which is great, but it won't get rid of it in mud because it got all like trapped up. So I got the right one free, but the left one I'm getting like drugged through the mud like that, and I cannot break it free and finally get out of it. And I walk over to, if you ever seen like the rice paddies, they're almost like really shallow ponds, if you will, and there's these little revetment or embankments on the side of it, and I was pretty close to one of those. So I remember walking up to it, and I just kind of like leaned up against the embankment, and it kind of all just hit me what had just happened. I remember just like took a couple deep breaths, and I remember saying out loud, like I don't know how you got me out of that, but like, thank you, Jesus, for saving me today. Like I said those words out loud with my face like barreled in my hands, and I look up, and standing right above me is the rice farmer of this farm with the most confused look on his face that you've ever seen. And he kind of looks at me, and I'm looking at him. We don't really say anything. And he kind of looks and he points at me, and then he points up. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like your rice paddy's on fire. I've got a parachute laying next to me. Like, where else would I have come from? But he was just so confused. He was like, why are you here? You should not be here. And also, you just ruined my crop for this year. So he is really nice. He spoke zero English. And so he helps me kind of out of this hole that I was in. And we walk over to where there's like that concrete dam that I did not want to land on. And he's saying a bunch of words to me in Korean that I do not understand. And another thing, just crazy miracle, is there happened to be a guy driving down the road, and he saw all this happen. I remember he was driving like a super, super nice like Mercedes Maybach, and he drove it down this like gravel mud road to get to us. It was like half a mile away from where the main road was, but he drove up, and I was like, man, that's a really expensive car to be out here in the mud. And he gets out, and those two start talking. And then he starts speaking English to me. He's like, what happened here? I was like, oh, you speak English? He's like, yeah, a little bit. So that conversation kind of rolls into the first thing. Like at this point, me and the farmer and Mr. Mercedes are talking. And there's another guy that is sprinting through all his might away from the crash site to us, because we're about 200, 300 yards like to the north of where the actual crash site was. And it's still burning at this point. It hadn't gone out yet. And that guy's sprinting up. And so now I'm trying to have this broken conversation of like, did I kill anybody over there? Because there was a rice paddy here, but it was surrounded by houses and apartment buildings, like kind of like really hit the bullseye there. I don't know how that happened, but it was within like 300 yards of like a full neighborhood of like multi-level like homes, apartments, whatever you want to call them. So I'm trying to have this broken English conversation of like, did I just kill that guy's son or family, or like, is anybody hurt? And so getting that to translate to him in English and then over into Korean and then back and forth, that was like a 5 or 6 minute process to like get the head nod of like, no, nobody is hurt. Like, we're sure. I was like, okay, awesome. And then, dude, probably the coolest moment of the day, one of two, was at this point, I'm starting to calm down, but pain's starting to set in a little bit. And I'm trying to call the ops desk, and I could not for the life of me, with all the adrenaline running. I couldn't remember the country code. Like, I had the ops desk number memorized, but I could not remember to dial +84 in front of it because it's a Korean number, right? So my phone isn't working. I'm getting frustrated. I'm also like caked in mud head to toe. And so the Mercedes driver takes my phone and walks to his car. I'm like, that was really weird. And he opens up his trunk and he grabs an umbrella and he has a roll of paper towels in there. And he grabs these paper towels and he like rips my hands out and like wipes my hands off and wipes my face off and wipes my phone off. And then he holds the umbrella and then hands me the phone back so I can use it.